Hi guys, welcome to this Facebook Live. It's great to have you join us once again, as you do every day at 4 p.m. To just do a quick analysis on the markets session today. It was a range-bound day of trade, but we came off from the day's highs, closed flat for the benchmark indices. So 10,500 was maintained on the Nifty. For the broader markets, again, flat close, a dash of red, but if you look at the percentage gain, really not moving the needle a whole lot. In terms of individual movers today, there was a lot to talk about. Consumer stocks are particularly active. ITC, Godrej Consumers, they particularly picked it up in the session. I remember very clearly yesterday CLSA came out with a note saying that if monsoon is good this year, then the pickup in demand that we've seen from the rural side of the economy will only aid rural-oriented businesses or businesses servicing the rural economy. And that's why in their list they spoke about ITC, they spoke about Godrej Consumers, they spoke about Ramco Cement, they also spoke about M&M. They put a price target of 960 on M&M, calling it an upgrade on the company. In fact, today they launched a new product and they're trying to find their groove again in the SUV space, especially ahead of Maruti's big bang launch of getting into the utility vehicles segment. So it's going to be interesting for M&M going forward from here. But one would imagine that a lot of the value that the business derives right now will come in from servicing the rural side of the economy, which we've seen with how the group companies have done so far, with M&M Finance particularly, financial services also focusing on meeting the financial needs of the semi-rural and rural markets. Okay, would love to take your questions. Nitin is asking who's in Tata Sponge and DCB Bank. Tata Sponge has been active last couple of days, but DCB Bank came out with a good set of numbers. They pretty much rolled the red carpet out for earnings from the banking space, but in specific, if you look at their net interest income performance, PAT performance, I think what was really heartening to see is not only how they maintained double-digit growth there, but also how they manage their asset quality. I don't know whether that's reflective of the entire banking sector, but we'll have to see on that front how things pan out. Next, of course, there's a view coming in on Yes Bank. Okay, Siva Ramasamy, yes, I see your question. On Yes Bank, well, we've already seen how much the stock has rallied. Right now, I think there's a consideration of another round of fundraising, which the board would look into, or at least they've announced to the market that they might look at an equity fundraising option once again. They haven't mentioned the size. But you need to be very focused on what they're using these additional funds for, how much equity dilution would it lead to, and whether or not you want to be with a bank where there's been, in a quick series, fundraising plans. Again, I can't talk stocks, but all I can say is that be mindful of the news developments on Yes Bank, what their numbers reflect, and how they're going to be utilizing the funds that they're raising from the equity markets through equity instruments. Because every time you raise money via the equity markets, your equity, your outstanding shares base expands, and that leads to equity dilution, and that's not something investors fancy a whole lot. So just that being a bit of an overhang. Other than that, of course, Yes Bank's numbers have looked okay. As a stock, we've seen the markets reward the stock from last year to now. So all in all, as a private sector bank, there's no controversy surrounding Yes Bank as we've seen with ICICI and Axis Bank. But really, a call for investment, I think that is something that you need to discuss with your financial advisor. Okay, Abhishek has asked about how will markets react when banks' NPA crisis. Due to this issue, we have seen pressure today. Will it continue? The NPA crisis is not going to go away overnight. Let's be honest about it. Will it deepen from here is anybody's guess. Because just when we thought things were improving, PNB came out with that fraudulent loan announcement that they gave out to Nirav Modi in early February. And so, there would be bad loans at any given point in time. Mind you, a bank cannot do without NPA. Some loans, as part of the business, will go bad. That's why they are part of, a bank's financial structure, and that's why provisions are made. Non-performing assets are very much a risk of the whole process of lending that banks indulge in. The only issue is that the amount of NPAs you have in percentage to the loans that you're giving out. So in any bank, that's why NPAs become more critical. For 100 rupees of loan given out, how much of that 100 rupees goes bad? So if your NPAs are 15-20%, that means 20 rupees of the 100 rupees is going bad, and that's alarming. But if you have 1 or 2 rupees out of the 100 rupees going bad, your NPAs are lower, that's fine. That's manageable risk for banks. So that's what you need to monitor. Whether the important aspect in a crisis is whether it leads to any bank shutting down. That's not the case right now. So largely, banks and their financing needs or their funding needs are also being met. So largely, I think the banking system is okay. Yes, there are several challenges, there are problems which may be deep-rooted as well, and we haven't seen the bottom as yet of the entries that are coming out or being announced by the banks. In fact, this quarter will be the litmus test in that sense, where we would get some more color on how deep this mess is, how much more provisioning may be required, and banks may communicate what they're going to be doing to manage the bad loan situation and the asset quality problems. So this quarter is going to be important because a lot of banks will give out their FY19 guidance too. So be mindful of what banks say this time around. It'll be critical. This is a mini crisis because yes, one is worried about how many bad loans there are there, but no bank is going defunct, and that's where you need to take heart from the fact that there could be light at the end of the tunnel, and perhaps some stability that we might see in the creation of more bad loans and the lending culture of banks improving, where they do better diligence before giving out loans. Adik, any of you about Tejas Network? I know that only after the listing it had a spectacular run. So the only thing I can contribute to is that from a valuation standpoint, many experts believe it's looking a bit expensive, but you need to speak to your financial advisor because it's always a toss-up between how much price you're willing to pay for growth. This company seems to be in the growth phase. But are you willing to stretch on valuations to buy that growth, or are you wanting to look at other opportunities where there's a bit of a discount and where the upside to growth is not being captured in the price? So something that you need to discuss with a financial advisor and expert before taking that call. Okay, Danish is asked about HPCL, and HPCL, last couple of days, oil and marketing companies have been under pressure. There's no taking away from that. In fact, with this whole oil price rise, we've already spoken about how it's still not clear whether oil marketing companies will be allowed to pass on the burden with retail fuel prices going up. For now, I think the only understanding is that the minister, that's the oil minister, as well as the heads of all these oil marketing companies, have indicated to the market that they have not been given any diktat or directive, or they've not been brought under any pressure to in any way control the pass on of rising oil prices to the end consumer, or to signal that there's been a rollback in the deregulation that these companies witnessed a few years ago. But what is important is whether the market is finding conviction in that move, and it seems the market is still a bit underconfident about how this will play out for the health of the oil marketing companies, and which is why the downtrend continues. Today was also a down day for most of the oil marketing companies, except for the day when the clarification came from the oil minister as well as IOC HPCL. We haven't really seen a meaningful bounce back in OMCs. They continue to trend lower. If you look at a 1-month chart, you'll get the picture on OMCs quite clearly. So it's not just about HPCL, but it's HPCL, IOC, as well as BPCL. Graphite, we've already seen the run up in that stock. Philips Carbon too. This is the last question I'm taking because we have completely run out of time. Ganesh Housing, the housing finance business, Nayana, is something that Highways has found a lot of fancy with the markets. And as I was just answering the previous question, with a high-priced business where the stock is already run ahead of its growth fundamentals, its business fundamentals, one needs to know whether or not you pay a higher price for the growth momentum that is certain and desired, or whether you look at opportunities where a slight bit of discount will, improve your chances of a higher return. So that's a discussion which takes a lot of time and requires a lot of thinking, and also requires a lot of conviction. Don't just ride the wave right now, because these stocks have become a bit expensive, and I'm not just talking about a particular stock but across the board. Consult your financial advisor to know the exact entry point, because it's really about when you need to enter, at what price, and then when you need to book profits. So it's not about timing the markets, but the price that you pay for a particular stock and its a company's growth momentum is most critical when you're building an investment case for any stock, any sector per se. With that, I'm completely out of time, guys. Thanks very much for joining us today. We'll take up some more questions tomorrow. As always, we'll come to you live from Mumbai Newsroom to give you a perspective on the markets at 4 p.m. That's all. Take care.
अच्छा मुझे लगा कि नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम है कभी नहीं करता उनको बोलो वो कंप्लेंट सुशांत ये नेवर डू दिस ये क्या महेंद्र कूल दे दीजिए सुशांत कल वाले आपके वीडियोस तो यूज कर लिए थे
बंद कर दीजिए
कौन गेला बोलती संतोष